Hi, Run Your Story family. This is Allison Gilliard with Run Your Story, where every story needs to be heard. And welcome to 2025. Yeah, so much fun. Hope you guys have some incredible goals. I hope 2024 was fantastic to you. We are so excited about 2025 and all that's to come with Run Your Story, your favorite running podcast. So excited. And what better way to do that than to share with Carbs Fuel, guys? What a cool story. We sit down with Gabe Multer. He's one of the creators of Carbs Fuel, and just how it came about. And they're on a mission, and their mission is to fuel athletes effectively at a cost-effective way. And so they want to keep the ingredients simple. They want to keep it easy and cheap for all of us. And so huge shout out to Gabe Multer and Carbs Fuel for their mission. And I do highly recommend this product. It's a good product. Now, again, long distance endurance wise, I'm so excited because it's the one thing that you have to take with you. You don't have to have 5 different gels now. So it's a great idea and super excited. You guys can also purchase it at Run and Try or on the feed or on their website as well. But definitely recommend Run and Try or the feed for Carbs Fuel. And what better way to kick off a new year than with goals, right, guys? And so we're pumped that our official gem and one of our official podcast partners of the year for 2025 is Pack Training and Spring Hill Boot Camp. Guys, we are pumped that they are fueling our stories this month and throughout the year. I absolutely love Josh and Natalie. They're a fantastic duo and what they've created at Pack Training and Spring Hill Boot Camp. At Pack Training, they know strength is key for runners. Through targeted strength training, you'll build the muscles needed for better speed, power, and the ever-important injury prevention. Guys, I'm coming off an injury, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that I stopped strength training. I am back at it. I am doing all the things. I am part of Pack and part of Spring Hill Boot Camp, so I highly recommend this. 10 out of 10. Guys, with stronger legs, a solid core, powerful glutes will help you run faster, longer, and more efficiently. Add in Spring Hill Boot Camp, and it's a winning combo. Spring Hill Boot Camp is where HIIT takes your endurance to the next level. Short burst of high-intensity training increases cardiovascular capacity, boosts your strength, and make every run feel like you're operating at your peak. Whether you're focusing on building strength or improving your endurance, both Pack Training and Spring Hill Boot Camp have the tools to help you run your best. Highly recommend them. You guys can check them out more on the Run Your Story website. Also follow them on social media, Pack Training, Spring Hill Boot Camp. Guys, give them a shout out and come work out. Saturdays are open workouts. Would love to see our running community there. They're doing things that are run specific. Absolutely love them. Again, cannot highly recommend them enough. Emily Bullock, our local legend around here, she will crush your soul. That's all I gotta say, guys. She will crush your soul. You'll feel like you did something. Guys, let these guys help you reach your fitness goals and help keep us all on the pavement. Pack Training and Spring Hill Boot Camp. And cannot wait for you guys to see all that we have in store with these guys. They're so exciting, and I adore them. I think it's going to be a great partnership, and we are pumped that they are the official gym of Run Your Story. And with that being said, get ready, get set, and go run with my friend Gabe with Carbs Fuel. Thank you, Gabe, so much for being here. I'm so excited. And we have to give a shout out to Dave McDonald, our blogger review guy, because he got to see you at the running event. I did not, because there's so many people.
Yeah, it's a zoo.
So I am really excited because when he told me all about you, of course, being the crazy person I am, had to go look up all the stuff because I like trying new stuff, and especially if it's going to help me. And you have such a cool product that I am so stoked about sharing. And this is not going to be a typical one because this is more of like, what's your cycling story?
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to be talking to you, and no hard feelings that you didn't get to come by the booth at TRE. I know it can be a bit of a zoo, but very excited to have this conversation today, tell you a little bit more about carbs, like you were saying, and my story with cycling.
So let's dive into it. How did you get into cycling?
Yeah, so I got into cycling when I was about 13 years old. I got into it because of my dad. He was a bike rider, and I just thought he was really cool. And I think I just wanted to,
spandex and everything.
yeah. No, I think I just wanted to do the same thing as him. I thought he was insane on the bike. I remember telling my friends, like, yeah, my dad, he rides his bike like 60 miles every single day. He could be in the Tour de France if he wanted to. He might not win it, but he'd be in it. He definitely didn't ride 60 miles every day, and he most definitely could not have been in the Tour de France. But that's the way I looked at it. And I think I just enjoyed watching
Mhm.
cycling with him.
You-
And so I wanted to do the same thing. And I picked up the bike pretty early on because of that.
Mm. So with cycling, there are some lessons that obviously you can learn because my backstory is that I became a runner after I became a cyclist. So I did century bike rides for many, many years, and running was just not a thing because that's getting me out to run down the street was a chore. Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
put me on a bike to go bike for 8 hours. I'm golden. I can do that. So again, there's so much that is mental when it comes to especially those long stretches where nobody's there. You're out of, or there's a stupid hill that will not end. So, what
Mhm.
are some lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, I think I've gotten really comfortable and happy with being in my
Mm,
own sort of world and in my own thoughts. I'm definitely capable of social interaction and I enjoy social interaction, but definitely there are many hours where you're just by yourself with your
mhm,
thoughts and with the sensations, some positive, some negative, when you're out on the bike. And I think it's taught a lot of lessons of perseverance
mm,
and dedication and putting in the work and getting really focused. I think another thing with cycling is you need to be really attentive all the time. So it's like making sure the car that's coming out of the
mm,
driveway isn't going to hit you and preparing for the
mm,
corners and then getting back onto the pedals to put in a solid effort. It's your brain is always engaged. And I think that's helpful in all kinds of parts of life is
mm,
teaching yourself to flip on in that sort of way.
mm. Or dogs. Dogs also
Oh, yeah.
always in the way.
Oh, yeah. When you go out on a ride on a bike path or something like that, and there's kids and dogs and families, and you got to stay alert.
Those are exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about Carbs Fuel. First of all, the name is just amazing because, and I'm sure it's something that you talk to people a lot about how carbs get this misrepresentation of carbs are bad. You shouldn't have carbs or you should limit your carbs. So, how did Carbs Fuel come to be?
Yeah, I can tell a little bit more on my story with bikes, and I think it plays
Mhm.
into the story of Carbs Fuel pretty well. So, I mentioned how I got into bikes when I was quite young. After that point, I was really dedicated into bikes, and my whole
Mm.
dream, my whole childhood was to be a world tour professional and to race in the Tour de France. And I
Oh.
really just wanted to be at the top of level of the sport and my whole life
Mm.
to be bikes. Anyways, by the time I was 18, I had to accept the fact that I was most definitely not going to be a world tour professional. So like I I was good at bike riding and bike racing, but to be at that level, you need to be truly exceptional, not just from a physical standpoint,
Mm.
but also
Mhm.
mentally. And you have to have that fight in you from a
Mm.
racing standpoint too. And just on all bases, I definitely didn't have what it took. And I've come to accept that. But at the time, it was really devastating for me, and
Mm.
it totally burned me out from endurance sport in general for years, and I had a toxic relationship with riding a bike for a long time because I'd pick it back up again, ride for a few months, start getting fit, and then I'd start dreaming, and part of me just thinking it would be different this time around, like maybe I
Mm.
could become a pro, and then I'd get mad at myself again and then quit all over again, but anyways, eventually, I got to the point where I am now, which I ride my bike all the time and I just
Mm.
love it. And
Mhm.
these days, I just love it for the community and seeing beautiful places and pushing myself just for myself. But in the past few years, when I made that switch to riding a lot again, the thing you couldn't miss was this attention to fueling.
Mm.
It's been this big revolution in the past few years that's been brought to light of all these athletes talking about consuming more carbs than they were before. So
Mhm.
these athletes were talking about consuming 90 to 120 grams of carbs every single hour while they're doing their activity, and
Mm.
how that plays a huge role in how good you feel while you're running or cycling. Also, how well you perform, especially in a longer bike ride or run. and how well you recover, replenishing your glycogen stores for the next day's activity. So there was all this attention on it. And me being someone who likes to be able to take control of my own life and control if I'm getting better on the bike or not, I was trying to figure out how to fuel more effectively.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I realized I had no idea how people were actually getting to 90 to 120 grams. When you start breaking it down and actually trying to work to it, you realize most gels are 20 to 30 grams of carbs. They're $3-4 each. And so these companies are looking at you with a straight face saying, eat 5 of these every hour, spend $15 per hour fueling. And so I was realizing, like, actually most people don't hit 90 to 120 grams. They just underfuel and they therefore underperform. Those that are either sponsored and getting stuff discounted or for free, or they're making like a sludge in a bottle. So that issue is really what inspired creating Carbs Fuel. Was I realized there should be a way that's more affordable, more simple, more accessible in general for people if they are trying to up the amount they're consuming while they're doing their activities. We wanted to make something that enabled them to do that.
So you saw a need, which is super cool that you saw that and you were like, okay, how do I fix this? So then what was the next step for this journey? Because obviously you're like, okay, I want to fix it. I want to make something. But how does one go about doing that, Gabe? I'm like, somebody else is going to figure that out. That's always my answer.
Yeah,
But no,
totally.
you did that. So how did you do that?
Yeah, and my background is not in nutrition or science or anything like that. So
Wilder.
yeah, I was managing software sales teams. So I couldn't have been further from being the expert. Thankfully, this guy that I grew up with, his name's Aaron Gouw, I knew that he was close to finishing his PhD in human bioenergetics.
Stop
And
it.
yeah, so he had always been the person that I would tap on the shoulder for when I had a question about training and just human physiology and exercising. And so when I started coming up with this idea and thinking, maybe I don't want to just take this for what it is, maybe I want to change the way people are fueling, he was the only person I thought about. Like, he would know how to go about this. He would know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, and he would be able to set me in the right direction. And yeah, he had been thinking about the same thing, which I realize a lot of people have been thinking about that because it's a
Sure.
major issue.
Yeah.
And he got really excited by it. And we decided, okay, he can head up the science and the product and the formulation and everything like that. And I can work on all the other stuff and we can build something like this together. And so that piece, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without Aaron because he brings the expertise and the science and I took on the other stuff.
So were you guys like, you met up and then you're like, this is what, as obviously from his human biomedical perspective of saying, this is what the body's always trying to maintain when homeostasis, this is what the body's always trying to be in balance with. And then you had this idea of, well, this is what, as an endurance athlete, I'm missing. So did you guys have like that come to meeting where you're like, how do we make this work together?
Yeah, so it wasn't even an in-person meeting. It was phone calls because he was out in Muncie, Indiana, where he's getting his PhD, and I am in Golden, Colorado. And so it was a phone call that led to a series of phone calls. He's also an endurance athlete. He's also a cyclist. So he gets it also. And yeah, so the conversation started around, could you make a 50-gram carb gel? Would that be good or bad for the body and the GI to take in 50 all at once?
Yeah.
Do these products actually need to be as expensive as they are? At the end of the day, the ingredients are very simple and they're all commodities. So my hypothesis was no. I also don't know for sure. I didn't really know what would go into building a business like that. So it started with those kind of bigger questions. And then once we realized, okay, yes, this is something we should do. Then for Aaron, it started looking like, how would we formulate this? What would be the right sort of carbohydrate sources and the right blend to get to the correct glucose to fructose ratio we were shooting for? And so I thought that he would take a much quicker approach. Like when I pictured him formulating it, I figured he'd look at the ingredient list of a competing gel and be like, let's start here and then iterate off of that. No, Aaron went ingredient by ingredient. So he went, okay,
Wow.
we need water. What do we need? What are the options from a water standpoint? And then we need this sort of carbohydrate. For instance, maltodextrin is a carbohydrate source on most energy gel products and fueling products in general. What you don't see is that there are a million different types of maltodextrin, and they impart totally different tastes, textures. The clarity of it's very different. The way your GI handles it is very different. So we tested like 30 different maltodextrins. And so it was a lot of just like tinkering around in the kitchen, honestly, like making these initial batches.
That is fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, pretty fun. I ate a lot of gels.
I was about to say, so not only did you get taste, but then textures, because there's some gels that
Oh
like
yeah,
I just can't do because one, the texture, and then as you mentioned earlier, some of them mess with your GI system. And so
oh
then
yeah,
you're like on a long run and nothing's worse than race day. And you're like, where's the bathroom? So
totally.
so that is so cool that you took all of that into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, we had a few controls in the development of the product. It needed to be 50 grams of carbohydrates, which is 200 calories.
Mhm.
So it had
Okay.
to be super dense. So for those shooting for a higher intake, you could carry less. You have to reach back and eat less frequently. So it had to be 50 grams. It had to be $2. That was an incredibly big statement of
Mhm.
we can actually make fueling affordable. It had to work just as well, if not better, than anything else on the market. Like, for instance, for us, we were big fans of Morton. They
Mhm.
make a really
Okay.
quality product. So we thought to ourselves, let's make something just as good, but intentionally price it way lower to do what's right for athletes. And then the last
Mhm.
control was make it really thin in consistency,
Mm.
because 50 grams is going to scare people from the label. If it's super thick,
Mhm.
that's going to be terrifying. And so it
Nothing
had to
gagging
be,
as you're running.
yeah, it had to be really thin. And so
Mhm.
that's what it is. It's like a light syrup, if anything. It's
Yeah, I was
really
gonna say you can drink
thankful.
it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. That is so cool. That's so cool that you took all of that and you were like, "This is the check mark. This is what I want and I expect."
Yep.
So, honest review, do you like Carbs Fuel when you're cycling?
Oh yeah. I I'd be doing something wrong if I didn't. Um, no, I can confidently say I love our product, and I do use competitors' products, but it's only for instances where our product doesn't fulfill it yet. So for me, these are the only four things that matter when you're doing endurance work. Water, that's the one that I almost left out.
Fair.
So water is critically important. Sodium,
Mhm,
carbohydrates, and caffeine, which is debatable depending on the setting, but caffeine
mhm,
has a proven benefit. And so for me, our products right now, as is, fulfill the carbohydrate demand. There are instances when I need more sodium or when I need
mhm.
caffeine, and that'll lead me to getting a competitor's product.
Okay.
We're looking to change that in the near future. But as of today, yeah. But when I need carbohydrates, you betcha. The only thing I'm eating is our gel and our drink mix.
I love that because so after Dave it was like, "Hey, there's this guy I really, should really be on the podcast." And I was like, "Cool, like I love learning about new products and I love learning the people's stories and the products behind them because you have a passion that someone else isn't going to have because you've experienced this is yours." And so I was like, "Where can I get this?" And we're in Mobile, Alabama. We have one running store that carries Carbs Fuel. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Run and try, here I come," because I'm like, "What?" One, I was glad to know that somebody around who carried it. That way I could get it. But then also people can go online. They can also order as well. But I thought that was so cool. And then there you are at the running event saying, "We have something to offer that meets the demands that right across the booth next to you probably does it or does
Yeah.
it slightly, like,
Yeah,
not the same vision though."
exactly. There are a ton of nutrition companies
Mhm,
that cater towards endurance athletes. And it's not me sitting here saying we're the only good one. There's tons of good products
mhm,
out there. We've filled this niche that is, if you want something really simple
mhm,
and you want to get a lot of carbs for not a lot of money, that's where we're filling right now. And so we're the best option if that's the priority. But
mhm.
like at TRE, I think there was probably 20 different nutrition
So
brands.
yeah, yeah.
And
Formative.
everyone's got their own thing. And so
Mhm,
to different people, they'll like different products or for
mhm,
different settings. Like next to us was NAC. I think that's how you pronounce it, NAAK. Anyways, like they make real food, kind of fat, heavier products, which for most scenarios doesn't make a lot of sense. But to an ultra endurance runner, like if you're
Sure.
running 100 miles,
Mhm.
there's a story there. And so there's a lot of great products out there too. And I'm glad you brought up Run and Try and Mobile. We just started working with them actually.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we actually met them at TRE.
Look at that. There you go.
Yeah. But anyways,
So I'm really excited about incorporating Carbs Fuel because again, I first of all, the name is just super catchy. Carbs Fuel makes sense. Like it's plain and simple. But also, again, just to know the story of all the concepts that you said, this is what I want for this product. This is what I need as an endurance athlete. And also, here I am listening, and I'm like, that could also be for somebody, though, that works at a like high intense job that maybe doesn't have an hour lunch break, but maybe, hey, I can scarf down this carbs fuel and keep going at my job. Like you've incorporated what somebody needs on a daily as well.
yeah. Yeah, it certainly is probably the most efficient way to get a ton of calories in you. If you're doing it not working out, that you're gonna get a bit of a sugar rush for sure. But it is a pretty dense packet. I think there's something really to be said for people going out on backpacking trips or
Mhm.
things where space is limited, especially
Mhm.
when you're trying to make the most out of how much weight or space am I carrying and what can I pack into that. So I think it can make a lot of sense for those sort of scenarios too.
That's amazing. And the fact that you were like, it has to be $2. We have to make this affordable.
Yeah, it's what's
That's
right
great.
for endurance athletes. There isn't a reason these products should be so expensive.
Mm.
And I'm sure we would say this even if we did, but I can confidently tell you we didn't cut any corners or make any sacrifice on the product
Mhm.
quality in getting there. It's just we're able to be more lean than some of these companies where we don't have a payroll of 20 people and we're a little bit more careful with where we put marketing dollars.
Mm.
The product itself, it's not expensive to manufacture. And so there's no reason that they should be as expensive as they are. And it's at the end of the day, the way I look at it is if it's a $2 gel versus a $5 gel
Mm.
and you're in an hour and a half long run, you could finish that run without taking a gel. And if you're carrying a $5 gel, you're probably deciding not to eat that gel because it's not critical to be able to
Mm.
finish the run.
Mhm.
If you're carrying a $2 gel, it's more of a why wouldn't I eat it? And
Right, yeah.
so if people are more likely to eat while they're exercising, they're going to have a better relationship with food and with their sport. And so my whole
Mm.
goal is if we can get people to fuel a little bit more than they
Mhm.
would have otherwise, then we're doing a really good thing.
That's genius. That's because you nail it. So I'm thinking like I have a half on Sunday. And here I am going, I don't always take gels with me because and that's the other thing, you try to like time it out. But as you've mentioned, all the things that Carbs Fuel puts together, you don't have to every 45 minutes, every
Yeah.
hour. Yeah, like one and done.
Yeah, totally. It just makes things a little bit easier. I think the best fueling strategy is the one you stick to, and
Mhm.
people tend to stick to simple. So
Yeah,
how can we make it as simple as possible? That's really at the heart of what we're trying to do.
that's amazing. Oh, I love that. That is so stinking cool. So cool. So I have to know, how do you recover? So, and then my other question is, because you talked about how you guys are dabbling in other products to try to bring out, will you
Yeah.
guys try to bring something into the recovery realm as well?
Yeah. So one day, I think it'd be fun to expand into recovery products. It
Mhm.
won't be the first, second, or third thing that we do.
Sure.
For me personally, the way that I recover, because I ride my bike probably 12 hours a week or so. So I put in decent volume. It's not crazy,
Mhm.
but I personally love the Fairlife 30-gram protein chocolate
Okay.
milks. Those are so good. And so I go to Costco all the time already. And so I typically stock up on those and I'll slam one of those after every workout,
Okay.
which it could be better because honestly, you want more carbohydrates in a recovery drink
Mhm.
because
Okay.
you need, as an endurance athlete, while it is important to get protein, a
Mhm.
big part of recovery is replenishing your glycogen stores. And you have a window within 15 minutes of finishing, the sooner the better in general. But yeah, so ideally you would want more carbohydrates. And that's why a lot of these recovery mixes exist. is to get the right ratio of carbohydrates to protein. And honestly, from our brand, I really like us making a recovery mix because it's an education point. Like you just said, like the aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
Carbohydrates have a huge role in recovery. And I think that's an educational opportunity for people. So
Mm-hmm.
with our name, Carbs Fuel, if we went to name the product line Carbs Recover, something like that, yeah, I think it does good for education. But anyways, to answer your question of if we're going to go into recovery, our first priority is let's fulfill every endurance athlete's needs for while they're working out. So we're more likely to expand into how do we deliver the right nutrients or macronutrients that the athletes need during? How can we change up the form factor of a product? So there's mixes, there's bars, there's chews, there's
Okay.
gels. And so, and ultimately they're all doing the same thing. But again, the best fueling strategy is the one you stick to. And if you're doing a really long activity, I'm not unrealistic. I know people don't want to slurp gels for 8 hours straight. I know people like to eat some solid food. And so if that helps someone stick to their fueling plan, there's a place for that sort of product.
That's really cool. I like that. Okay. When you're not cycling, is there, and you did tell me you dabble in running a little bit. So is there a cross training activity that you like to do when you're not cycling?
I'm about the worst for this. I'm the least versatile athlete in the world.
Stop. Are you really?
Yeah, I just have my legs spin in circles. I no, so I'll run occasionally. Like my partner, she's a big runner and she got a Peloton tread recently. And so when it's snowing out here in Colorado, like sometimes I'll run on the tread a little bit, but
Okay.
I pretty much do no cross training. I think I'm gonna need double hip replacements probably when I'm older. I don't do any mobility or strength training. I'm just like a wet noodle on a bike. But I ride my bike a lot and I'm handy at that specific activity.
It's great.
My co-founder, Aaron, the science guy, he would be rolling his eyes at me right now. He's big in I know I should be doing cross training. He runs quite a bit in the
Okay.
off season and he'll do strength training work all the time.
He's
But
like, bro.
hey, I'm not a gerbil. I don't like being in a gym or running in place or picking up weights and putting them down.
When you're already a fantastic cyclist, what else do you need though, Gabe? What else?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I get winded going up the stairs, but I can ride my bike really well, I promise.
What advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into cycling?
That's a great question. It's a tough sport to get into. It's really expensive. It's super expensive. There's a lot of maintenance and mechanical knowledge that you need to know. Like, it feels like every day I'm dealing with a different problem on my bike that I need fixed. So once I fix one thing, the next thing breaks. So it's pretty challenging from that side of things as well. And then there's also the skill aspect, like not crashing is something that you need to learn and you will crash at some point in the process of getting into cycling. And then there's the physical side as well. It's a challenging sport. And so all that said, I think if someone was really determined in it, it's worth the time and effort that goes into it. I love riding my bike more than anything else. It's such a fun sport, but it takes a lot to get into it. And so I totally get why it's not a mainstream sport. It's pretty difficult to properly get into. And then you meet all kinds of egos too. There's a lot of people that are not very welcoming in bikes. And so I think that's maybe a point of advice is don't let those people steer you away from it. There are lots of really nice, accommodating, welcoming people that love to ride bikes. But unfortunately, there's a lot that are very cliquey, very elitist. And I think finding a good group that's supportive is really important. Sorry to do another plug of something that I'm doing, but I also run a team called Holy Cow Racing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did read about that. Yeah. Okay.
And so we're all about inclusivity and spreading fun and community. And so I built it to fill this gap where I felt like all the teams in Colorado were very cliquey and elitist, and it was intimidating for a lot of people. So I wanted to make something a little bit more. And yeah, so a point of advice would be if you are determined, which it's worthwhile if you are, it can take a while. till you feel like you get your feet underneath
Mhm.
you. But it's a pretty awesome sport once you do so.
Holy cow, that was a good answer.
Yeah, if anyone is curious, we dress up like cows. So
No, you
it's like
don't.
a
Stop,
yeah,
stop.
so
Do you
so it's
really?
yeah, so it's a black base, and then we have cow spots all over, and the cow spots are like a bright neon pink and blue. So it's not like a normal cow color. Yeah, I wanted the kids to be like you can't be an a-hole while dressed like that. Like I wanted it to live this ethos of spreading fun and bringing some humor and lightness to the bike. But
That is
anyways,
great. I
holy
have to
cow.
know. I have to know, what is your bike's name?
I don't actually have a name for my bike. My dad always named his
What?
bike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I named my bike.
My dad's bike name was Sweetness. Uh,
The-
but
wow.
I never named any of my bikes. I think I'm not loyal enough. I get new bikes a lot, and
You're like, enough maintenance with this one. I'm gonna go get another one.
yeah, yeah. So I get a new side bike all the time.
Moving on, since we know that you no names, that's so sad. When things get tough, whether it's from a business perspective or when you're out there cycling, is there something that you tell yourself time and time again, like a mantra to tell yourself not to give up?
Yeah, for sure. It's some variation of trust the process or keep rowing the boat. You can't think about getting across the lake. You just gotta row the boat. Just one
Mm,
more push, and you have to trust that you're going in the right direction and that it's the little bit of work every day that eventually gets you across the lake. It's not going to happen all at once. So I have to remind myself of that a lot because I'm really impatient. This was our first year of selling product for carbs. So we're pretty new and we've done really well for our first year, but it's never enough for me. And I just always want every day, how can I move this brand forward? How can I expand our reach, expand our awareness, sell more product, so on and so forth? And I work myself up way too much about it. And so I have to remind myself it's not going to happen in one day. I have to row the boat, do one thing at
mm.
a time, and trust that it's going in the right direction.
That's so good. Wow. Okay. What are your goals, whether they're in cycling or with Carbs Fuel? Do you have goals?
Yeah, for sure. For me on the bike, I used to be a lot more goal driven. I used to need to have events to get me onto the bike and to get me to train. Now it's much more of a lifestyle for me. I
Mm,
just love the routine of it. I love the feeling of riding my bike 5 or 6 days a week and being fit and being capable of going on a big ride or being able to push really hard. So, as far as goals for the bike right now, it's to consistently ride all the time and obviously give myself time to rest. I'm not saying every day of the week, but you know, have a consistent schedule where I feel good on the
mhm,
bike and I'm capable to go ride 100 miles the next day if I needed to or wanted to, and actually have an enjoyable experience doing so
mm,
rather than
mhm,
finishing on my knees. And a big part of that is fueling. But
mhm,
I think that's how I generally think about the bike. As far as for the business, I just want to make more and more of an impact on athletes. Like each
mhm.
day that I hear about someone random loving the product and using the product, like that just makes me really excited. And so I want to keep going in that direction,
Mm,
having the product be in more people's hands. And as I was saying earlier, if we can help more people fuel better and
mm.
enjoy their sport and everything better, then that's being really successful. And then I'd say the other thing is like, which I would love to happen is people always early on were like, I don't know if this is a good business idea. What if your competitors just drop their prices or like,
Mhm.
then it's a little bit less compelling. And for me, if that ends up happening, I'm gonna be so happy because for me as like an endurance athlete, like that's amazing. If I could impact the industry enough to get all these companies to lower prices and make
Mhm.
fueling more affordable, and if that's what ends the business, that's that's honestly not a bad outcome in my mind.
Mm.
I don't think that'll happen. I think if we can make an impact on the industry and stop this price war of making the most expensive product and do what's right for athletes, then I'm doing a good thing.
Dude, that's so cool. So stinking cool. When you aren't cycling, when you're not with Carbs Fuel? What fuels you? What are you passionate about?
Well, these days it's working on house projects.
Oh, okay.
You
Okay.
know, so my partner and I, we just bought our first home.
Oh,
Uh,
congratulations.
Thank you. So that's certainly keeping me busy in
Okay.
the in between moments. But no, I think the other things that really fuel me and get me out of bed, I'm not like a crazy social person. I feel like I've just a couple people in my life that I'm generally quite close with. And I think getting to spend quality time with my partner and go on fun trips with her and go into the mountains or whatever it is, that sort of stuff is always really fun. It's not always all about the business and the bike.
Oh, that's so good. Gabe, do you have any final words of wisdom?
uh, other than I was saying, probably not. I'm not that wise. I just like to ride my bike.
And take Carbs Fuel.
Yeah, yeah. I like to eat sugar and ride my bike. I'm a pretty simple guy.
Gabe, this has been so fun. And like I said, if people are local, they can go to Run and Try and pick up Carbs Fuel, or they can go online. Literally, they can just Google search you, Carbs Fuel. It brings it up. You're also on the feed, which I love buying from the feed.
Yeah.
So you're also there. So if anybody's listening and they order from the feed, Carbs Fuel is also there. So, Gabe, you are amazing. Thank you for creating this product. Thank you for taking time to share your story and the story of Carbs Fuel. And thanks for fueling our runs. This is amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was fun talking to you.
Is Carbs Fuel not the coolest with Gabe Multer? Like, so much fun. And a huge thank you to Carbs Fuel for taking the time to share your story. It was absolutely amazing. And I think one of the coolest things is when runners or cyclists or anybody that's an endurance sport, they say, you know what, there's got to be something better. And they do it. They go out and they do it. There's a story behind there. And I think that is really neat. And we should know how our supplements came to be in the running world. So thank you again to Carbs Fuel for taking the time to share your story. And Gabe, you know, I still believe you can make it to Tour de France. I believe in you, buddy. I had so much fun. It was so great. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for creating Carbs Fuel. Again, guys, you can go check them out at Run and Try and on thefeed.com. You can also go to Carbs Fuel website as well. And again, thank you for making this possible. That would be Pack Training and Spring Hill Boot Camp. Appreciate you guys. They are the official gym and partner of Run Your Story. We are pumped to be a part of them and cannot wait. Let me just say, I've already been working out there and I'm sore, yes, but in a good way. And it just helps you realize, yes, I've been missing this. And so what really got me back was coming back from the injury. And again, it's one of the questions we ask is, what do you do for cross training? And strength training is super important. HIIT is super important. And so Josh and Natalie and the gang, they can get you going at Pack Training and Spring Hill Boot Camp. Make sure you tell them that Run Your Story sent you. And we cannot wait to see what the future holds. We are so, so excited about this. So can't wait to see you on the blue mat or at Pack Training, guys. Definitely go check them out. As always, thank you to Gilliard Tech Services. He keeps our website going. It's been a lot of updating we've been doing, so that's been a lot of fun. And we are just so excited to have him as part of our team at Gilliard Tech Services. He can build that website that you're dreaming of for 2025, or that you've been on hold, go ahead and pull that trigger. Or if you need an updated website, he can do that as well. He also takes time to edit this podcast, so we're extremely grateful that he does that. He pours into the running community, and he appreciates his running community, and we appreciate Gilliard Tech Services. You can learn more at Gilliard Tech Services website, or you can also go to his social media. You can also go to Run Your Story. You can find him there as well. And to Dave, the blogger, the shoe guy, the review guy, guys, go check him out. He has a blog that is on our website. He does such a great job. It's been so fun to hear people read about the shoes and then talk about it. So definitely go check him out. And maybe you didn't get the pair of shoes you wanted in 2024. Here you go for 2025. And he also is reviewing gear as we speak. So there's a lot to come, and Dave does such an exceptional job of breaking everything down. So shout out to Dave, our shoe gear review guy. So definitely check him out. Our Patreon supporters could not do this without you. We are so excited for 2025 and all the fun things that are coming for you guys exclusively. And we love you and appreciate you. And just thank you for all that you do. Make sure that you like, share, and comment because our Patreon supporters, they want to see this podcast grow. And we are pumped about this. I mean, 2025 is just going to be a fun year. And we can't wait to see what it has in store with Run Your Story and all the cool things we get to do. And that is all possible because of our Patreon supporters. They make this possible. It's not too late to join. There's different tiers that you can join, just like there's different distances you can run. You can find out more on the Run Your Story website as well. All right, guys, until next time, go run your story because every story needs to be heard.